If we don't live up to expectations this year on the football side, what are the main reasons? We're going to talk about them plus a bunch more of your questions. Today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for being here every single day, being an everydayer. We got Rugiet over there from on the road dialing in, which I think is amazing. It's going to be a ton of fun. I want to start here. So call-in show, if anybody wants to call in, we put the link in the stream. Always love to have people in the community call in and dial in if you want to talk about really anything that you want to talk about. But a couple places I want to start. Rugiet, I've been talking a while about how I think we're slept on a little bit. You know, one bad year at Wisconsin does not mean we're suddenly new Northwestern, new Rutgers. However, this is a comment we got, and it was kind of like, hey, if we're not being slept on, if some of the national discourse is correct that this team is not going to be very good, rank these reasons why. If we aren't good, if we fail to live up to expectations, rank these causes. Offensive line depth, lack of coaching continuity, breaking in a new OC, new quarterbacks coach, some new pieces. It's another transfer quarterback bust or lack of dudes in the front seven?
It's a great question. And first of all, thanks for having me on. I don't have my regular mic set up, so I'm in a hotel room. My mic's not working. Sorry about that if I sound a little funky. Look, I think sadly, if we fail to live up to any expectations, we have a bad year. It's probably C more than anything else, because everything starts and ends with the quarterback. Like if Billy Edwards is what we expect him to be, which is far better than Braden Locke was, then we should be able to actually do something better and meet some expectations. After that, I'd probably go back to D, lack of dudes on the front seven, because that's those two things, right? Quarterback play and front seven play have been the bugaboos for the last couple of years. If either of those things fails, the team's going to just not be good. And that sucks.
And Rob, I see Robert Sorensen in the queue. I see Landon in the queue. So we're going to jump you guys in here in a second. I actually got one of Mr. Sorensen's questions in the queue. So we're going to bring him on to talk about that one. Yeah, if I'm ranking these, first of all, I agree with you 100%. Quarterback is the most important piece on the chessboard. It's one of the biggest spots we've struggled landing. If this season isn't what we hope it could be, I think you look at the quarterback first and foremost as just another in a line of quarterback projects brought into this program that haven't worked out. And then I might say offensive line depth. Because actually, I think the defense line is going to be pretty good. I feel like we're one injury away from getting into really bad situations on the offensive line now that Kevin Haywood is out for the year. And there's not a lot of ready-made answers there. So I think you go either way. I love this question. But listen, when we got people in the queue, you and I talk all the time. And it's not that I bore of it, Rugiet, because I love it. But we got people in the queue. So let's get Mr. Sorensen, long-time friend of the show, into the chat here. I'm going to throw your question up if you're good.
All right.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Tackett and Allegro, best backer duo since Sanborn and Chanel. So before you can answer this question, we were talking about it before show. That's actually not a super high bar, right? Because you're kind of comparing it to like maybe a Herbig Muma combo. So we actually wanted to phrase this as, is Tackett and Allegro, how might they stack up to that Sanborn Leo Chanel group? I'll kick it over to either one of you to take that one.
Rugiet, I'll let you go first on that one.
Listen, I think the potential is absolutely there. Tackett is probably going to be the most improved player on the team. That's what we're hearing things. He's really good. We know Allegro's fantastic. If Tackett is who we think he could be this year, then the answer is yes. They definitely can stack up to Sanborn and Chanel. The ceiling, certainly. But if Tackett was like he was last year and doesn't take the step, like some as far as mentally, like playing the game, some of decision-making on the field, then I think you're not close, because Sanborn and Chanel was quite a combination. But you know how I feel about Christian Allegro. I think Allegro's ceiling could be higher than both of those guys, for sure, even higher than Chanel's. And that's why you have a better chance of hitting that ceiling there and being as good as those guys. But Tackett Curtis has got to pull his weight.
What do you think, Rob?
Why'd you have to I just read the comment of Tackett on Bus Watch 2025. No, Tackett's on Explosion Watch. I definitely think.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but no, I think that Tackett has potential to kind of jump where Sanborn was. I mean, Sanborn is definitely just a smart player, but I think Tackett has, the athleticism to be better. So I think combining Allegro and Tackett, you could.
Oh, Ra, I think we're having some connection issues on your side. You're cutting in and out. I'm gonna put you back in the queue. Like I would love for you to jump back on, but I'm not catching
Yeah.
everything you're saying. We're gonna get Landon in here a second. I'm just gonna put Rob in the queue again. Great friend of the show. I don't think they're going to be better than Sanborn and Chanel. Like, I don't think, as much as I love Christian Allegro, Rajiv, and you and I both love Christian Allegro, we've been high on him for a while. I don't know if he's going to be a Leo Chanel type of game wrecker. Like, you remember Leo Chanel was a game wrecker. Like, you could put him in the middle of a line of scrimmage and just control things that linebackers shouldn't be able to do. I mean, we wrecked Army's game plan literally by just putting Chanel over center. And that was it. That was the only thing we did, and they couldn't do a thing. So I don't know if it's going to be that good, but I'll say this: if it's 90% of Sanborn and Chanel, this defense is much better for it, right? That's still a really good duo.
Would you say that Allegro has a ceiling that's more dynamic than Chanel? Chanel was, you're right, game wrecker extraordinaire. But I feel like Allegro just has like a more full rounded package linebacker play, like his sideline to sideline speed, his ability to even drop in coverage potentially if necessary. I just feel like he's got the all around package, and his ceiling to me, if he hits it, can exceed that of Chanel just because his overall gameplay is a little more dynamic. What do you think about that? Am I off base?
I don't think so. I like he came up. People have to remember he came out of high school as like a hybrid safety. I think his coverage skills, his ability to go sideline to sideline, are more dynamic than Chanel. It's just Chanel. Like I remember a general manager talking years ago about the draft, and he said, "Big athletic people win in football. We draft big athletic people." Like Chanel is just such a monster that I don't think there's a guy in this roster that's going to be able to wreck game plans like he did. Because there's very few people in college football that can do it, and you've seen him do it in the NFL. Is Allegro that type of guy? Probably not, and that's not a knock on Allegro. It's just Leo is special. We're going to take 1 second here. Rob is moving around. Landon, we're going to get to you after the break because we got to take a break here in a second. But I want to hit one more question before we get to the break. This is a question from Dominic DM. I love this question, man. Winter at the 5 this year. Do you think he'll be the same, or is that going to take a toll on him battling bigger guys, Rajiv?
I think it's a really good question, and I think it's a very fair point, and it's probably going to happen because, listen, man, like we love Stephen Crowell. He brought a lot to the team, and he took a lot of that defensive responsibility. Not saying he was great at it, but positionally he was a pretty good defender, and he did his best on some of those big fives. Nolan Winter in this conference with the guys that he's going to have to face, that's going to take a lot out of him. But I also feel like Nolan Winter has the ability to do that. Like he's a gifted athlete. I feel like from what we've heard, he's worked out. He's gotten even bigger. Like he's a really good player, and I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. He understands the game, and he can almost learn a new position, and especially learn how to defensively deal with that. But yeah, like he's going to have a battle against a lot of fives in this conference, and it's not going to be easy on him at all.
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, Dominic. And it's one I got to be honest, I haven't thought much about this angle on it, which is why I love this community because the users, the listeners, the people in this community bring up different angles that we don't think about. That being said, I don't think it's a huge concern for me. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. He's not like Chet Holmgren, where he's like 190 pounds. He's 7 foot, he's skinny. Like he's actually kind of put on some weight, sneaky. And I also think the way we play offense, the way college basketball is moved, there's a lot of times he's just going to be on the perimeter anyway. He's going to be guarding stretch 4s and stretch 5s. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal for him. I really don't. He's going to be another year of maturity, another year of strength and conditioning. We don't play that many guys. Like you only play Purdue a couple times a year, right? You only play a couple of those guys a year. So I actually think he'll be all right. But I do think it's a really good question. All right, we're going to take one quick second here. We're going to come back. Landon, you're up next after the break. We got a bunch more comments and questions that people submitted. We're going to try to get into all of it in a live Lockdown Badgers. Again, if you want to jump in, the link is in the chat. Let's take one quick second for our friends of the show and come back with Landon. First, today's episode brought to you by our great friends over at FanDuel. Listen, summer's incredible. Rajiv and I have talked about it. Baseball is a great sport to bet on. It's changing basically every weekend. And I know, Rajiv, FanDuel is something you've used. What do you love about the FanDuel experience?
Man, it's like all the options that you have, especially during baseball season, right? Like run line, and you can You can parlay different things. You can look at in-game options. You can look at players and who's going to score. There's just options are endless, and that's critical. While the lights turn off in my hotel room, motion sensor, hello. Yeah, fantastic. And it's all the sports, all the options, and the bonus bets, by the way, that you get, like the offer that obviously you get being a part of Locked On Badgers.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. If you're new to FanDuel, right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app, apply today, FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, let's jump back into this as Rajiv fights his lights a little bit. Landon, let's bring you on the show. And, man, whatever you want to talk about, football, basketball, what are your thoughts? What's going on in your life right now, man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for jumping on, man.
So, yeah, no problem. I'm going to let's shift over to basketball here a little bit. And, we've been talking pretty much all offseason about how hard the football schedule is going to be and everything, all the worries that have been going on with that. But I was just taking a look at the basketball schedule, and I started kind of worrying a little bit. So I want to see what you guys think about this and kind of what the non-conference schedule is looking like, other than obviously the tough Big Ten schedule that the Badgers are going to be having going on in the 25-26 basketball season. So you're going to have three Big East teams on the schedule with Villanova, Marquette, and Providence in the Thanksgiving tournament in November. And then you're also going to have that rematch against BYU, who already has the offensive firepower. They already have the number one recruit in the nation going to their team as well. I don't know how to say his last name, Jade something. And then also a potential matchup against the national champions in Florida in that tournament as well in November. Already on top of playing Purdue twice, Minnesota twice, playing them is just terrible. It seems like in basketball, always close. You got to go to Oregon, to Michigan, at Illinois, and then I also put at Nebraska on there because I hate playing in Pinnacle Bank Arena. That place is just so hard to play. So my question after all this, Greg Gard said 2 years ago that he likes sticking his neck out in some of these non-conference games and getting strength of schedule. Did he stick his neck out too far this season?
Man, that's a great question. Landon, you need to come on more often. Rajiv, you and I have talked about schedule a little bit on this. What are your early thoughts here?
Great question, and I absolutely love that he puts his neck out, and I'll tell you why. College basketball, unlike college football, like you're gonna if you're a decent team and you finish above 500 in your league, which we should, even with that schedule, Landon, you're getting into the tournament. And the committee has proven year after year that it rewards you for better strength of schedule. It allows us to play really good teams early in the season to test out our ability to actually beat those teams, to improve and get better, because you get better when you play those teams, so that when March comes, you've got your tournament resume. Like in the years, last couple of years, we've built up some really good wins from those tough non-cons.
Mm-hmm.
You do that again, that improves your seeding. It helps you get stronger. You're sharper for the tournament. When you get to the tournament, now you've got that entire sort of history of, we've played these teams. We know we can beat these teams, and it gives your team that much more confidence. Football, I would not have that opinion, but basketball, I'm all for it, man. Load up the schedule, because if we're good enough to make the tournament, you're still going to make the tournament, and it's only going to help you. It's not going to hurt you to have those teams on your schedule, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mostly agree with that. Greg, by the way, says Winter will beat the opponent's five down the floor. That is also a great point. If you're going to hit him with a lumbering five on one side, should be able to beat the other one down with tempo. One of my favorite games last year, Landon, was the Arizona game. Because you had that team coming in, that great Badger team is kind of the reunion of some of those great players. The environment was great. That was the birth of Tanjay, the legend. And, with those great out of conference opportunities, you get some of those great moments. Like I love playing Marquette. Yeah. I'm excited to see BYU. Like you mentioned, Kevin Smith is an incredible coach there, what they're building. That should be a really fun game though, so I like it. I definitely understand if you drop a couple of those, maybe you look at it differently, but I think Greg Gard does a pretty good job early in the season. Typically he's, pretty on point. This should be a pretty veteran team, which I think lends to success early. You look at some of the returning starters on this team and the veterans they brought in with like an Andrew Rohde and a Boyd. We should be in a better spot to take advantage of those early season non-con games. So I really like it. I think it's exciting and I think it's fun. Where are you at?
Yeah, I was also looking at this, 2 seasons ago when they were the 5 seed. They did the same thing. They put Tennessee on the schedule. At first Arizona matchup was on there. Also Virginia in that November tournament. So I I see that Greg Gard's doing this multiple times, making me feel like, okay, I think that he knows what he's doing in this. I mean, he wouldn't do this if he didn't believe in how he reloaded this season and went out in the portal and got who he got. So I'm feeling pretty good about it, but I looked at it right away, and then I kind of started panicking a little bit, looking at the football schedule and now the basketball schedule. I'm just like, I hope that the wins can come along with the ranked opponents that we're gonna have to play this year.
Are you happy with the roster as it sits right now, Landon? Are you comfortable with the players that we've got? Do you feel do you feel like he did enough in the portal?
Let me tie a question into that, Rajiv, because I want to keep that on you for the next basketball question, and this actually kind of ties into what you're asking. So one of the questions we got was basketball question: this year's starting five versus last year's starting five, this year's bench versus last year's bench, and the intangibles this year and last year. So let's start just between the three of us. Landon, I want to start with you. Which starting five do you like more, last year's or this year's?
Man, it's hard to compare that when you got a second team All-American starter in the 3 spot. I mean, that's so hard to try and replace that. I mean, it's near impossible to do something like that. You also had Steven Crowell. I'm a huge Steven Crowell guy, just like you, Ryan. I think that the people hated on him. I mean, the guy was always there. He was always there with a shot, great footwork, fairly good in the post. The hate that he got, I didn't agree with. But again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, you lost him as well. I don't know. I feel like I got to see the people from the transfer portal first before I start comparing this, because you never really know how these things are going to work out. I mean, you look at last year, you hit on Tanjay, grand slam there, but Amos didn't quite, get into the Big Ten speed and physicality coming from where he did. And obviously Cameron Hunter never really could get on the floor healthy. So you just really never know with these things when you're bringing in people with the portal. But if you look what they did last season, I mean, Rapp he looks good. He's got a quick shot. Obviously, Nick Boyd was in a Final Four team. He's coming from San Diego State. You feel really good about that, and the resources that they put in, they feel really good about him. But I think I would stick with the last year's starting five for right now, just because, I mean, heck, they got a 3 seed, Ryan. I mean, it's hard to beat that.
That's well said. Rajiv?
I mean, I think when you look at starting fives, it's a tough comparison because Boyd is a massive upgrade at the point guard position, obviously.
Yes, true. They got a 1. They got a true 1.
Right. The bench, to me, last year versus this year, this year's bench is tough. It's really tough to look at. I mean, you just don't know who's going to come in. I mean, obviously we've talked about that, the new pickup Gray, like that's our 4-5. But other than that, you don't have a lot there. Greppy, there's a lot of question marks. Last year's bench was better. But the intangibles, I think that's kind of the unknown. And I think that's how I think Boyd makes those intangibles a little bit stronger. Second year now of Kirk Penny's offense, right? So we're getting a little bit better with that. And you couple that with a guy like Boyd, I'm going to give the intangibles to this year.
Dude, so let me start with the intangible ones, because Rajiv, once again, I say this all the time, Legos, man, you and I are sticking together. I think the intangibles of having a true point guard changes the entire dynamic on the court. I also think year 2 and Penny leaning even more into that system with shooters everywhere. Like, Crowell was a good shooter. Crowell wasn't the most willing shooter at times. Rapp's going to let it fly. Winter's going to let it fly. I actually want to look at the starting lineup. I actually think I might give it to this year's group, because I think if you look at it, I think potentially we've improved at 3 spots. Crowell's a big loss. Tanja's a big loss. But Blackwell is going to be better this year than last year. Winter is going to be better this year than last year. And Boyd is going to be an improvement over Klesmit. Just is what it is. That was not a great Klesmit year last season. I think you're better at 3 of the 5 spots. Last year's bench is better, though.
I think I'd push back just a little bit just to say, I agree with you at the 1 and the 2. Winter as a 4, now a 5. Is that an upgrade? Winter, because Winter's position changed. I think I disagree with you a little bit on the 3 spots. I think 2 for sure.
It's a good point. Keep in mind, Winter played 20 minutes last year, though.
That's true. Yeah.
I think, though, your point is also very, very on point. I think he is more of a natural 4, as our good friend Justin points out. Still don't like Winter at the 5, he says. Yeah, that's fair point. 100% fair point. We got Red Shed in the chat. We're going to give Robert another shout. JB was in there 2 different times, and then he dropped out. So, JB, if you're still around, jump back in. We got to take one more quick break. Landon, my friend, thank you for jumping on. That was phenomenal.
Yeah,
really
thank you guys.
We're going to take one more quick break, come back with Red Shed. Coach is in there. JB is back in there as well. One more quick break for our friends of the show, and then whatever your thoughts are. Again, live call-in show, whatever you guys want to talk about. We have questions queued up, but I would rather just take yours on the fly. One quick second for our friends of the show. All right, welcome back, Locked On Badgers. Really do appreciate you jumping in. Red Shed, what's going on, my friend? Welcome to the show. Thank you for dialing in. Love the Fickle Longo 24 cap. That worked out well for us.
We need a new hat.
We do.
If there's anybody out there that's doing merch, I think it was Wisconsin Clothing Company. I think that's where I got this, but I think they got in trouble for doing too much university stuff. So I think they had to back out a little bit. But
we need something different. What's your thoughts, man? Wherever you want to go.
So I'm curious, and my question is why everybody is so terrified of the schedule this year. So my thoughts are there are 3 really tough games. There's no doubt about it. There are 3 games that are going to be tough for any team in the country, let alone, a Wisconsin team that's trying to get their feet back under them. Everything else on the schedule, I'm not scared of Iowa. They could take a step back. Nebraska, who knows what they're going to do. Indiana, Illinois, both teams that could take major steps back. So when it comes to the win-loss record and the schedule itself, every year going forward, we're going to end up having 3 tough games. I think that's going to be a standard. And so I'm curious your 2 thoughts on what makes this schedule particularly hard in terms of what we've seen in the past, and then going forward, what we're going to expect year in and year out. Because I expect there to be at least 3 elite teams, some coming out of nowhere. Eventually, Nebraska might be an elite team, right? But these guys just aren't right now. And so I'm looking at this 2025 schedule. Michigan's going to suck. And I'm just not scared of anybody else besides kind of the big 3 games. So I'm curious your thoughts.
So I would say, it's a good question, Red Chat. I would say the reason is the 3 games that you mentioned, which of course are Alabama, Ohio State, and Oregon, right? I'm assuming that's the 3 you're talking about. Those are completely unwinnable. I think if you look at future schedules, like the 26-27 schedule, you don't have 3 completely unwinnable games. I think because you have 3 automatic losses for the most part, okay, then you've got Michigan, Iowa, a better Indiana team, a better Illinois team, and a Minnesota team that's beaten us, sadly, too many times recently. It's just that those are a lot of 50-50 games. And so for me, the pathway to get to 8 or 9 wins is just so much harder because you have 3 completely unwinnable games and then a bunch of 50-50s. Versus in 2026, you don't have that. You think you've got maybe 1, maybe 2 completely unwinnable games. And even that 1 or 2 game difference to me makes a big difference. It's just that there's just so much stacked up against us. And honestly, I hear you on Michigan. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but Underwood could be fantastic. They've obviously reloaded at a lot of positions. So that's still going to be a really tough game. But when you have that many completely unwinnables, that's why I think it's so much harder. Because the conference is just deep and the other games are a lot of 50-50s.
Yeah, I would just add on to that quick, and then Red Shed, kick it back to you on it. I think the sequencing is problematic, right? When you go Michigan, Iowa, Oregon, Ohio State, all in a row, I think you're just going to get beaten up in that stretch, which makes it a little more tough. And then I also think, to Rajeev's point, and this is something I've talked about, there used to be more croutons on the schedule. Like there used to be more appetizers. Like Illinois never used to be a challenge. And I don't think Illinois is great. Like I'm actually more down in Illinois than other people, same with Indiana. But there's no doubt that they're better than they used to be. Like they have come up from where they were to more in the middle. And you can lose games in the middle because that's where Wisconsin is now. We've come down to the middle, and some of those schools have come up to the middle. So I think you have less layups on the schedule.
See, I think the point at which I disagree, and I see the comments in the chat, right? This isn't your father's Illinois team, right? And I think back to, the 2022 season when we lost to Illinois. They ended up having like 6 guys go in the top 100 in the draft on that team, right? They had like 2 safeties drafted in the top 10, right? In that 2022 team that we were like, oh, how could Wisconsin ever lose to a team like that, right? And they had 6 top 100 picks on their, in terms of NFL talent. So when I look at this Illinois team, I don't see that. I see a lot of our leftovers, right? And so I think there's a damn good coach down there, obviously, in Big Bert, but I'm just not – I don't think looking forward, especially with this staff, right, the amount of resources that we're pouring into this program, You can't look at a schedule like this and look at Illinois and think, I don't even know if they have any projected draft picks, right? And I don't think you can look at that team and be like, hey, that's a team it's a 50-50 now. I think we should win that game. And in terms of Ohio State and that one, I like the chat. It's not unwinnable. I think these quarterbacks are going to be in such flux, and I think there's a lot of NIL money getting thrown around at high school kids that, we've seen a lot of 5-star guys bust, right? We went through the DJ Gillens experience, right? He was rated just as high as Deshaun Watson, right? So it's like we've seen it in our own house. And then, you look across Underwood, he could have a Raiola type year and be okay. But what's around him, right? They lost a ton of talent for the last 3 years. So I'm not as sold as some of these elite programs. My big picture takeaway is I think you're going to see a lot of fluctuation from those blue blood programs that are pouring a lot of dollars into individual players. And I think you're going to see teams like Alabama last year who finished 16th in the country. And I'm sorry, but for Wisconsin, a top 15 team shouldn't be considered unwinnable. So I got to hop back into Rocket League because my fellows are waiting for me. So I'm going to go do that. But fellows, I appreciate you having me on.
Dude, no, really good take, man. Red Shed, appreciate you.
I would say fair point on the unwinnable thing too. I shouldn't say unwinnable, right? Because look, we can surprise anybody. Highly, highly unlikely that we're beating those teams.
Let's bring in Coach Mac, man. I surprised you there. I shotgunned you. Welcome back to the show, man. And JB, you're back in there in the queue. You're up next, my friend. Coach Mac, chime in on. I want to go wherever you want to go, but chime in on that last conversation. Is the schedule as hard as we've made it out to be? Are we overmaking it? What do you think?
It's hard. It's not easy. I mean, when you got to go to Alabama and play Alabama, we've been talking about this for years. It's not easy to walk into Alabama and win a football game, period. We know that. Ohio State, that's a winnable game, in my opinion. Now, you are going to have a different offensive play caller. That's going to change things up. That might be Tressel's advantage. Might be some new wrinkle that he doesn't know about that could help him out. Defensively, I still think they're solid. Now, our offense has got to take that step. We don't have Locke back there anymore. So with Locke not back there anymore, can we complete a pass in those clutch moments? I think Edwards can do that. He's just that dude. And let's be honest, he's not a statue in the backfield, right? He can move. He can get out of the pocket. He can make a play with his feet. We didn't have that ability last year. We missed that. Even TVD, watching him at the beginning of the year, he kind of tried doing it. That wasn't happening, though. The schedule is scary. I mean, can we beat an Oregon? Now, that's another thing. I mean, their head coach is a mastermind for a reason. He is one person I love following because the creativity behind it, and they get the playmakers. Those dudes probably, they're not going to have the Ohio State resume of draft picks, but they get those dudes that are fast. They get those dudes who can make those plays that fit their system really well. Who doesn't want to play for a school sponsored by Nike? First off, these kids see their uniform area, they're like, yeah, I want to be here with you, Dan Lanning. I want you. You're my guy. So could you beat them in Oregon? Probably. I mean, Ohio State is probably, I think, the one that I would circle as the one. Alabama's just too tough.
Let me add on to this quick, and then Coach, I want to go wherever you want to go, and Rajiv, if you have any final thoughts on this. I think there's also just an element of we got to understand where we're at. This is sometimes we talk like we're Wisconsin 2017 still, because that's what we see in our hearts. And Red Shed was great, but he talked about how many draft picks does Illinois have this year? How many does Wisconsin have? That's just me being real. I think we're better. I think we're moving in the right direction, but this is still a team that won 5 games last year. Some of it's just realizing where we're at a program right now, and where we're at a program is not probably beating a team that has Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. It's just it just is what it is.
I agree. I don't know what you ever, Rajiv. I agree. We romanticize about those Wisconsin football teams that we could score 28 points and win a ball game because we had a great defense. We had playmakers on that side too. Offense, we could ground and pound the ball. We could chew the clock. We can't do that this day and age, and we saw that with Longo's offense. Credit to that last guy for wearing that hat because I would have burnt that thing already. Yeah. Biggest pet peeve I had with somebody with Longo, especially the last couple of years, is we're hurrying up to get to the line to go 3 and out.
Yeah.
We're hurrying up to go 3 and out every time. And it was just dumb. And I mean, he did good things in North Carolina, but he did not bring that bag with him
Neza with the
North
comment as
Carolina,
well.
Wisconsin.
Throw the Longo hat in the garbage, dude. That's from
Oh,
Neza.
absolutely. I would have burnt it. I had a flamethrower day.
Yeah.
Like, we would just burn everything that day.
I think ultimately there was a comment that Will Hanna just had up about 6-6 until we prove ourselves otherwise. I think, to be honest, like, you guys know me, I'm a very optimistic guy, but the last couple of years have beat me down a little bit. Just to be honest, like, I just feel beaten down by what this program has done. Last year, losing that bowl streak was a killer, and the conference is only getting harder. Like, we're not in the Big Ten West anymore, and we have to realize that, and that's just a fact. So, like, these schedules they're tough, and this schedule is really tough, and yeah, like, look, also, we're going to learn a lot in the first 2 weeks. Like, even though we're playing cupcakes, like, if we dominate Miami and we dominate Middle Tennessee State, then yeah, I'll have a little more confidence going into that Alabama game. But I got to see this team work. I got to see what Jeff Grimes can do. I got to see if Billy Edwards is really the guy. And I want to be optimistic. I really do. I want to so badly, but it's tough.
The thing is, too, is don't reveal all your tricks those first 2 weeks, right? It's like they have to think of the first 2 games, even though they're not. They have to think of like how the NFL treats a preseason game, right? Don't come out with your full offense. Walk into Alabama with some things you have hiding. Yeah, we're going to be on film after that. Go in there with some surprises, some shocks. That's how you go into a place like Alabama and beat them. So keep those things hidden away. So when you walk into Tuscaloosa, Alabama, you can go in there and you can, have your way, do jump around in the fourth quarter instead of listening to Roll Tide nonstop. You know what I mean?
Coach, where else do you want to go with this? So we got JB, you're in the queue next. Then we're going to kick it back to Robert. What else do you got?
I got a hot take here, right? I keep seeing the clips. I saw the clips all week, right? Jaden Ballard to Edwards connection, right? Is that connection that good, or is our secondary that bad?
So let me tell you that when I went down to watch practice a couple times this spring, the first thing I think in my first video after seeing practice was, wow, Jaden Ballard is fast, and wow, he got open really easily against us. And both of those things concern me, because I'll tell you what, who's the burner in our secondary? And I don't think we have one. I think it's a concern. I think
that's kind of what I was leaning on. Yep. And I mean, it comes down to either is our secondary that bad, or again, for this third year in a row, technically, is our pass rush that bad?
So really quick, now I want to get to receive. I don't actually think our secondary is bad. I think our secondary is really solid. But I do think against a big, fast receiver, we do have a bit of an athleticism deficit on the edges. I actually think the secondary is good. I like our corner duo. I like our safeties. But yeah, I think a big, fast receiver can get us.
I think our secondary is also good. I think our pass rush is going to be better. It should be better. We have better athletes up there. We've got much better outside linebackers that can actually, look, Mason Reiger can be a real X factor on this team potentially. But at the end of the day, what we also know is that we have more speed. I talked to an Ohio State guy earlier this week, and even they, who never even really saw Ballard, were like, that guy is fast. Like, the speed is legit. And now that you got Vinny and him, and you got a guy like Tretch, and you got a guy like Declan Crowdis, like, you've got speed that we've never had, that we haven't had in a while on this team. So I think all things can be true. Like, our secondary, sure, their speed's going to give them problems, but also I think we really do have a dynamic wide receiving core for sure.
I do, and that's why I think Eugene's going to bust out this year. That was my other thing. I think Eugene Hilton's actually going to come out this year. I think he's going to be the one dude.
Say come out and bust out. What does that mean, actually?
So for me, that's like how Tretch came out, right? How Tretch came out, and all of a sudden everybody's like, who's Kakahuna? Like, who is this guy? We're watching him against an LSU and a late bowl game. Who is this kid? Like, where did he come from? Even me, like, I look at the roster for time. I have season tickets, but still, Tretch never meant anything to me. And then I'm watching him against LSU, and I'm like, where's this guy been buried at? Oh, he was hurt. I didn't know about him. But I think Eugene's going to stay healthy enough to be that guy to come in and compete halfway through the season, where we're going to take injuries. It happens with every football team. Mm-hmm. That's why we have so many wide receivers anyways, right? You know what's going to happen. I think he's going to be that breakout guy this year.
What do you think, Rajiv? What is Eugene Hilton this year?
I think he is going to be a solid role player. We're going to see him flash. I don't think he gets more than 6 to 10 catches, if that. but I think that we're going to see him. We're going to know what we have in him, but I don't think he's going to be a significant contributor just because I like the depth that we have overall. And I think that we've got a lot of players. Now, we had an injury, then sure, I think Hilton could have a much bigger role. But if everyone stays healthy, I think he'll have a role. We'll see what he is, and we'll be excited about him for his sophomore season.
Eli Davis pointing out Joseph Griffin still on the roster, somebody who couldn't play last year, but 6'4", former 4-star guy, Boston College. There is
Chris Brooks.
He's there.
Chris Brooks is still there.
Chris Brooks. Y'all know me. And Deco Crowdis, a guy who more of a gadget player, but legitimate deep speed dad to that core. Coach, I'm going to look here.
We have so much depth.
I got to get JB on the show, and then I'm going to try to flip it back to Robert. If anybody else wants to jump in, the link is in the chat. Feel free to jump in. Again, just have your camera on so I know you're not doing anything crazy, and have a shirt on. Other than that, you're good to go. Let's get JB in the chat. Coach, man, always a pleasure, my friend.
Hello?
Jay, what are you doing?
I'm getting out of the car, man. I just drove all the way downtown. The Cardinals game caught out. It was all crazy out there, man.
JB.
Sorry, here. The thing. Thing's beeping. All right. I was going to try to go up on the thing so you can see the view of the arch. But anyway, so instead you got my parking garage. Okay, here's what I wanted to say. All right. We're coming and going. There's
possible. You're in the parking garage.
Where do you want me to go? So I'm going to go to the car. If I go in the elevator, you won't be able to hear me. Anyway, so here's what I wanted to say. Because I hear lots of people saying all these different things about specific players, this year versus last year. I was the first one to say Longo was the wrong guy. Yeah. And so I wanted to tell you, and I posted this in the Discord, I don't know, a few months ago. And I have a picture of myself when I was 5 years old with a Wisconsin Badgers shirt on, all right, at St. Louis and Forest Park. My sister went there. I was a Badger, okay? I always knew I was going to be a Badger. But back then it was different, right? There was no internet. There was none of that. Stuff was regional. The only time I saw a football game was if, Wisconsin was playing Ohio State and Al Toon was on. That was it. Otherwise, I wasn't going to see a game. And I got to Wisconsin, and I was in Whitty Hall. Where were you, Rajiv? What were you? Where were you?
Og,
baby. Og blows. Celery sucks. Did you just scream that out the window?
Crap, JB. You always
So anyway, it's my first year there. And actually, my guidance counselor told me I would never get into Wisconsin. And I'm like, he's like, you should look at like Kansas or maybe Missouri or grades. I'm like, dude, I'm going to Wisconsin. Like, that's where I'm going. Like, Wisconsin is my school. Like, it's my school since I was 5. So, anyway, I went to Hebrew University, got good grades, transferred in. So, anyway, I'm at Wisconsin. It's the first football game, right? And we're playing Miami. Miami's preseason number 1. And they kick off to us, and I'm in the dorm rooms. And the dorms back then were like male and female on the same floor, and then there were bathrooms in between. And then there was like a TV room. And so we're in the TV room, we're watching the game, and they kick off to us. We catch the ball. We get to like the 35-yard line, something like that. Whatever, we get a first down. We're like, yeah. There's like a personal foul, a holding call. We're on like their 30-yard line. We kick a field goal, and we're going nuts. We're beating Miami 3-0. Final score 51-3. We didn't make it past the 50-yard line, and we didn't have a first down the rest of the game. So that's the Wisconsin that I had at college. And I remember you asking a question, Ryan. You asked a question about, was for people who were alive back then or knew it back then, was getting Barry Alvarez as big a deal as when we got Luke Fickell, right? And so what I would say is there's way more access to information now, right? We have a 24-hour news cycle. You could back then it was like a newspaper. And it was yesterday's news, right? And so whatever you got, it was like an article. But everybody, when we got Barry out, you have to understand, he was the DC at Notre Dame under Lou Holtz. Dude, it was a big deal. None of us could figure out, why does this guy not know that we're 1-11? Like, why is he coming to Madison? And he came, and he was 1-11 his first year. And we're like, oh, well, typical. And then he was like, I don't remember the second year, was like 5-7. I don't remember what it was. And then the next year was the year that I graduated. I was out, and we went to the Rose Bowl. And I remember I bet on the game, and I won, and I knew we were going to win because we were just so good. And it was so amazing. And ever since then, I had just an expectation that we're going to the Rose Bowl every year. Like we would be 10-2, and I was when we went 13-1 that year. I was so angry that Clemson got in ahead of us because they lost to Syracuse that year by like 20. We lost one game. I was like, I was devastated. Okay, if we went 13-1 right now, you know what I'm saying? So I guess my point is I still am a 13-1 guy. I'm still a 9-3. That's the expectation. And it was interesting. I was watching your show yesterday, and you had a guy on who said, this is a 9-3 team with a 6-6 schedule. I thought that was yeah, and I thought it was an interesting take. But I thought we were going to beat LSU when we beat them that year. I did. It was man. That game was in Green. That was in Lambeau Field. We were going to lose that game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were there. Wow, that's amazing, dude. That must have been amazing. That must have been. Was it amazing? So anyway, but like to me, it was like we got Alvarez and we got Stu Jackson from the Knicks and we got Finley and like Wisconsin's athletics completely changed. We always were good at hockey, but everything else changed. And so 6-6 isn't good enough for me. It's just not. It's like you were saying on that show. You're like, 6-6 doesn't really. It needs to be at least 7-5. Like I want 9-3. I don't care how good these other teams are. We're Wisconsin. We go in and we beat people up. We have a big offensive line. We never recruit as high as they do, but we still have 10 wins every season or 9 wins. Why is it any different this year?
Well,
that's my question.
Yeah, I think my answer to that. What if we aren't Wisconsin anymore, though? Right? Because that's kind of what we were talking about. Is we aren't that Wisconsin version. We have to get back to that version before we can expect 9 wins, don't we? Isn't that just
Ryan, I'm the 5-year-old at Forest Park holding hands with my sister with the Wisconsin Badgers shirt on. I am not this whatever, right? I can get mad, like I'm not a big fan of Greg Gard or whatever. I still want him to win. I told you if we get to the Sweet 16, I'll buy everybody a ticket to it. I still want to win. Right?
Background noise there.
It's the golf cart guy.
We had a comment in here that said they thought you were stealing a Kia, which I had to laugh at. I'm gonna try to get Rob back on, man. JB, as always, dude, you are the man. Appreciate you jumping on the show,
dude. I'm telling you, man. 8-4, I'm okay with, but it really needs to be 9-3. And none of the 6-6 is good enough. Why not?
Because we're not good enough.
Why not?
We aren't. Like, it's as simple as that. I don't think we're good enough.
Was Jonathan Taylor a top 100 recruit?
Yeah, but we don't have that guy.
But how do you know that?
I feel pretty confident saying we don't have a Jonathan Taylor on this roster right now. Just because
Jonathan Taylor's one of the greatest players ever. I'm just saying, how do you know that one of these wide receivers, a Vinny Anthony or Chris Brooks or whatever, isn't going to be 1,000-yard receiver this year? How do you know that Dylan Jones or Yak or whoever, or that we'll have a combination like we had the 3 guys, 15 years? How do you know that?
Listen,
because we did an analysis. We did an analysis 2 years ago, and everybody thought that every single guy that was on the team was going to be All-American, right? And it wasn't. So why is it that all of a sudden, okay, let's flip it around? So every one of these guys is bad? Who cares?
I don't think they're
Keanu
bad.
Benton was an 86 3-star Keanu Benton. I'm just saying, anyway, that's my point. I'm like, I don't care. We're Wisconsin. Yeah, it's the same Wisconsin. It's the same Camp Randall. It's the same 4 legs to everything. It's everything the same. It's not as cool. They put condos where we used to play basketball outside and whatever. I'm sure the surf is different now, but whatever. It's still Madison, still Wisconsin. We're still the Badgers, and we got to win 9 wins, and that's it. Just win it. Just win the games. That's it. Just win. Just score more points than the other team.
Love you, brother, as always.
All right, love you guys too. See you later. Bye, Rajiv.
Yeah.
That is more optimism than you've been bringing to the show lately, Rajiv.
I mean, I didn't realize JB was such an optimist all of a sudden. When did that come out?
Dude, he was bringing the optimism. Robert, hopefully this connection works better. Thank you for sticking on, man.
Yeah, no problem. I thought I was watching WWE. Like, I thought I was going to see a trash can, like, get hit by somebody or something like that. Like, you guys panned to backstage. So dude, that's what I was ready for.
There was a lot of optimism there, man.
Yeah.
Where are you at now after this show? Do you feel better now? Have we brought you more optimism?
No, I can't have it. We haven't been a good team, plain and simple. The times that you know, you watch these games the past 2 years, you know, you've had hope with Longo. You thought the optimism was high, but we've just shown we haven't been a good team. The players we have now, I think we got some talent there. I think Billy Edwards is going to be good. I like the hope with Dylan Jones, but we haven't seen it on the field. The only one who's really shown it is Vinny Anthony. Ballard, he didn't have production at Ohio State, so until they show it, you can't like we have no evidence, unfortunately, is the problem. Like, you know, if you were to take this to court, you know, you just don't have the evidence. You know, it's you just can't prove it. I think this team could end up doing better. You could go 8-4. There's potential for that. There's always we don't know how these guys are going to progress. We don't know what the Grimes offense does, but we scored 23 about average 23 points a game last year, and that's not good enough to be above 6. So now if you bring that up to a 29, 30 points a game, yeah, you could go 8-4. Like people are saying, you look at the schedule, it's like we can beat Iowa. We used to always beat Iowa. It was a tough game, but we didn't expect to lose that game. But now it's like I don't think we can win that game yet, but it can flip. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm optimistic and like I think we're going to have better players than last year. I think we're going to look more competent, but I just can't say that we're going to be 8-4.
Rajiv, anything else you want to throw on to that?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I agree for the most part. Like I said, I want to be optimistic about this team, but it's just tough when you look at like who we have become. Especially like the other thing that we taught defensively, right? We should be better defensively, but we still don't know. We still haven't seen a defensive line under Fickle play like a defensive line we expected to see under Luke Fickle. That hasn't happened yet. Now Charles Perkins, like, you know, we look like we have some players to do that. That's going to dictate a lot of what happens with this team. Like if we can actually be better up front, like again, we I believe we have that potential and we could be really good up front. But if we're not, there is no chance. I mean, there's literally no chance that we're better than a 6-6 team if our defensive front line isn't remarkably better than they were last year. Like that's what it's going to take. We could be 8-4, but it takes. We got the quarterback. I feel like we're going to be better there, but it really takes us being better defensively. We're not like I just don't know that that's there. I really want to believe that it's there, but that's we're going to learn. We're going to learn very very early on whether we are or not.
Brian Lambert says complementary football will be a difference maker. I wanted to put this up there because it's not just I think our passing game is going to be better, which is going to help our running game. I think our offense being better is going to help that front seven. So now that front seven can be a little fresher and can get after a little bit more. I think that's a good comment. And Rob, you brought up something that you worded it really well. Like if you went into court and said, this is who I think we are, you couldn't prove it. I think that's a really good take because if we were a different fan base, Rajiv, you've been doing your Know Your Foe series. If you did one on Wisconsin, let's say you're an Illinois fan or whoever, it doesn't matter. And you're like, yeah, they got Maryland's quarterback. He was okay last year. Their star acquisition didn't play at Ohio State. They brought in a bunch of transfers for the third year. It didn't work the last two. They fired their offensive coordinator. How many times have we talked about other teams? Well, it's going to take them a while to figure it out. They have a new coordinator, new quarterback, new coordinator, new quarterback's coach. I think a lot of the reasons we would dismiss other teams we're potentially overlooking on our own squad because that's what we do, right? So I think those reasons for concern are there, and that's why I do think this team is still a year or two away. I think it's going in the right direction, but there are some real red flags here if you really want to look at it.
I think the one thing I would add to that and say to that is if other teams were previewing us, the one thing they would say that put a little fear into other people, other teams, is that Wisconsin's getting back to Wisconsin football offensively. And that is something that a lot of people looked at us the last couple of years with Longo are like, that was the downfall of Wisconsin was you guys decided that you were going to run an air raid and you got way too far from your identity. But we're going back to our identity. And I think that's where some of that optimism of being back as a high floor team, you know, that we were for so many years, that's where that can kind of come from. And I think other teams are recognizing that. They're seeing that we have made a concerted effort to go back to our identity.
I love that. Rob, let's throw your last question up here and then maybe wrap up on this. Again, like love these call-in shows. The link is in the chat if anybody else wants to dial in quick as we wrap up. Robert Sorensen himself. Who plays more snaps this year? Ryger Tiger or Aaron Witt?
Yeah.
I think it's Ryger, man. And I think it's Ryger because I think his defense needs it to be Ryger. They need him to be a guy, a difference maker. I think Aaron Witt is a good situational edge setter. I love his story. Like nobody deserves success more than him or a guy like Cade Yakimelli. But I think it's got to be Riger because you need that guy to be a difference maker this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I want it to be Riger. I was really just messing with Matt because it's like they both get hurt.
Matt loves him.
Yeah, it's like he's all about Riger, but it's like, I mean, I've looked everybody that was our guy, Aaron Witt. If you followed recruiting, it's like, dudes, he was just so big. He had 3 sacks, it's like, oh, it's like the next Jack Sitchie, it's like just a big playmaker, and then he just kept getting hurt. So it's like I kind of felt like they were similar players, guys who like have this talent but kept getting hurt. So that's why I want to throw that out there. But no, once again though, Tackett Curtis, I didn't get to talk enough hype about him because I was going in and out. But Tackett Curtis, he's going to have a year this year. He's healthy, he's going to be bringing the boom. Okay, him and Christian Allegro,
Best unit on the team, inside linebackers. I think that, to me, like I don't know if you guys agree, but I feel like that's Allegro and Curtis. That is an incredible combo. When you look at across the entire team, is that our best? Is that our best specific position unit? Would you guys say?
Gosh, so I lean optimist too, right? Like in general, I lean optimist, like to the point where I annoy people in my real life with optimism. Let me
on the whole team.
Yeah, let me ask you the question. If we don't really know what Tackett Curtis is, like we hope he's good. If you're telling me that's the best position, I could look at that in a way that worries. I think receiver is actually, because I think Vinny Anthony, like, gosh, I don't know.
I think those are this, because you can look at running back, you can look at wide receiver, and you can look at inside linebacker. To me, those are the strongest units on the team.
What about corner with Rico and Nizier if Nizier's back?
If Nizier is that, I mean, that's not definite yet, though.
No, but I think he is. Like he posted something kind of cryptic the other day. It was like soon and with a Badgers logo. Listen, I'm 41, so I'm not going to interpret social media from 20-year-olds. That's not something I'm capable of doing. But if he comes back, I'm telling you, I think it's probably corner.
That could be fair. Robert, what do you think? Like, how would you rank some of those position groups?
I don't know. I kind of like running backs, but that's just because I like Dylan Jones, and I think. I mean, Yak is still there. I think you just have a lot of talent, and I think there's definitely different things that they can all do. And so I'm definitely high on the running backs.
Yeah, listen, Neza agrees with you. We have no bad running backs. Starbs, I'm so excited to watch Jones and Dupree run this year. Matthew says it'll be running backs by the end of the year. Rob, you're cleaning up, brother. Eli Davis says definitely receiver. See, I just don't know if I trust Tackett enough to say that's our best spot. I love Allegro.
I think that's why, because I love Allegro so much, and I do believe that. I mean, like I said at the top of the show, I said like Tackett's got to take that step, but he has that potential. And we were comparing them to the other linebackers, and I think that if Tackett Curtis took the step that people have seen, people that watch practice, you've seen that. So I think that. I mean, I feel really, really good about those starters and the inside of that. The linebacker crew, I just feel really good about both those guys.
They're starting to build decent depth too. I think Jancy's still in there, and you got Cooper. I mean, they were talking about him too. So
and Posa coming in, and Gauthier. Yeah. If you look from a depth standpoint, you have a guy like Posa coming in. Cooper Catalano turned heads in spring. So yeah, from depth standpoint,
you got Antron Turner in there too. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there. Again, I feel bad because we had a bunch of comments and questions I didn't even get to, but we ended up getting a bunch of really good calling people. So do we want to do any more? Rajiv, do you have any more you wanted to hit on?
I just have a comment that I wanted to put up here. And Papa Smurf put this up there. And he says, if Wisconsin goes 8-5 this year, Rajiv is going to be talking playoffs for 26. Absolutely correct. And the thing is, I'm already talking about playoffs 26. I don't care what we do this year. I'm already talking about playoff in the 26. Go look at the 2026 schedule. You look at the maturation of the 24 class, the 25 class. Like, we've got a lot of good young talent on this team. And I think every Badger fan right now agrees that our young talent is really, really strong. You add another year of depth and experience with those guys. You bring in another recruiting class. You have guys like Posa that are going to be contributing next year hardcore. You have a lot of guys, Hilton. And then you couple that with an easier schedule. You absolutely better believe I'm already talking about playoffs in 2026.
Dude, I love it, man. There's nobody that brings the optimism like, well, maybe JB now, but
JB.
Absolutely. Going on Final Four runs? Why not? It's Believe with Rajiv on today's Locked On Badgers.
All right, let's wrap it there, guys. I'm looping it, my bad. Let's wrap it there, guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, Two star players on Badger basketball team this year, though, because my theory, and I brought this up at the meetup against Oregon last year, but you always have 2 star players, the rest are role players. So who's it going to be? Blackwell's obviously probably the 1 star player, and then you guys going Boyd.
I think it's Winter. I think Winter has a big jump in him. Like, the thing with Winter, on Nerd Out for a second, his efficiency numbers were off the charts last year, like upper 90th percentile offensively, in the post, shooting, spot up, isolation. If he continues 90% of that efficiency with a 10-minute jump to get to 30 minutes a game, he's a star. I don't think he leaves for the NBA potentially. So I think those are your stars. But Boyd as a third wheel, bro, that could be incredible. I'm telling you, I love this starting 5.
Boyd as a floor general, I agree. Those 2 stars, Blackwell and Winter, the stars. And you have the floor general, the conductor, the guy that can be relied upon to also score, but most importantly, put Winter and Blackwell in the positions they need to be in, put them in a position to be successful. And we've definitely got a good, solid team on our hands.
Yep, he can be a star role player just like Josh Gosser.
Oh, no, don't even start. JB he's going to come jumping back in the show for those who know that conversation. Neza knows it. Not the Dylan Graff versus JB argument returning again. Yep. That'll be a different show. We're going to wrap it up there, guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Rajiv for popping in, Rob for coming in, Landon for coming in, Coach, JB, everybody for jumping in. Really do appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are incredible, amazing as we continue to build this community. Rajiv, safe travels, my friend, as I know you're away from home on Wisconsin, and we will definitely talk later this week. We had a bunch of great guests coming up, actually. So peace.
On Wisconsin.